Today's assignment is called Connecting with Digital, Connecting with Digital Audiences. And basically it talks about code switching, okay? In a nutshell, code switching is when we have different parts of our personality and different ways of communicating with different groups of people. So for example, I'm going to communicate differently with Mrs. Snyder as my boss than I'm going to communicate with one of my friends or even with my kids. And if you're in my 9th grade class, we've talked about this earlier in the year as well with one of our poems. So your assignment for today is going to be this. You are going to go through this slideshow, okay? Connecting with digital audiences. So the essential question for today is, how can we use code switching to enhance our communication with online audiences? And I would argue that code switching is not just something that we need to be doing with online audiences. It's something we do all the time in person as well. So the first objective, apply the idea of code switching to how they use phones and other devices in and out of school. For example, if I'm going to send an email through my phone to Miss Johnson, I am going to probably use a very formal tone. But if I am going to send Miss Johnson a text message on the weekend because we're going to go to yoga together, then it's going to be a very informal kind of message. Maybe I'll use emojis, for example, or maybe I'll use slang or type "you are" instead of the words "you are," because I'm switching from being formal as her employee to being informal as in buddies going to yoga class together. 2, you will consider the ways that code switching online can make communication more meaningful and effective. And 3, you're going to write an example post or message that uses code switching to communicate with an online audience. So again, code switching is changing your language, behavior, or appearance based on who you're with or where you are. Okay? So it's not just how you talk or how you write, it's also how you behave, what you would wear, where you're going. Okay, I'm going to wear something totally different to the club to go out dancing than I'm going to wear to go to church on Sunday morning, right? So some examples of code switching. I want you to start off on this slide by first listing. When you're using your digital devices at home, your phone, your computer, your television, your PlayStation, your Xbox, all those things, when you're using those things at home, how do you use them? What kind of language do you use? What kinds of things do you say? Okay? Versus over here, how do you use devices at school? So mostly you're using computers at school, although some of you I know can use your phones to do your schoolwork as well. What are some ways that you use devices at school as opposed to how you use them at home? And is there any overlap there, or are they just completely different ways of using those devices? So make a list for each section on the T-chart. And then you're going to complete an activity. So the last few slides just basically tell you how to do the activity, but the activity itself also tells you how to do the activity. So let's look at the activity, which is right here. It's called Code Switching Online. So the Part 1 directions say, review the resources below. As you review them, track what each says about how people code switch online. Write your thoughts in the notes section. Review additional resources as time allows. So you don't necessarily have to review any additional resources, but if you want to, feel free. So there are 2 videos and 2 articles. I want you to go through all 4 of them. The first is called, Are There Internet Dialects? A dialect is a way of speaking, like a kind of like a dialect has its own grammar and pronunciation in a way. The second is called Make Your Emails Count, How to Write to Your Instructors. So this would be, how am I going to write an email to Mrs. Johnson if I want her to change the dress code? Okay, I'm going to write that kind of email very formally, and I'm going to really, really be very careful of what I'm saying if I'm going to ask something of her, right? The third is an article that says Your Guide to Using TikTok. And the last is called Black Twitter 101. What is it? Where did it originate? And where is it headed? If any of these links for some reason do not work, please just contact me. I will ask Mr. Mamet to make sure that they are unblocked, and then you can come back later and do the assignment. But you should be able to access these. If one of them doesn't work, just let me know, and then you can come back later and finish it when it's unblocked, okay? I do appreciate that you guys let me know if something is not accessible to you. So you're looking at these particular sources here. And then you are going to complete the chart on the second page. And you guys have done this before. You know exactly what to do. List the number of the resource in the box, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Tell me what kind of examples you see of code switching online. Tell me what you think the benefits are. Okay? How does it help us to be able to code switch online? What are the benefits? And then also look at the flip side. What are some challenges or concerns that you can identify to this type of code switching? So really what you're doing is you're listing pros here and cons here. What's good about code switching and what's not good about code switching. Part 2 then asks you to write, okay? So part 2 directions say, how could you use code switching online to communicate effectively, build community, or collaborate with a particular audience? Collaborate means that you work together with a group of people to achieve a common goal. Like here at Horizon, me and all of the other teachers and the administrators all collaborate to try to give you the best possible learning experience we can. Think about all the audiences you interact with online or through devices, or audiences that you want to interact with but haven't yet. This could include friends, specific groups of friends, family members, classmates, teachers, a particular online community like YouTubers or gamers or foodies, etc. Once you have chosen your intended audience, answer the reflection questions below. So first, choose your audience. Who are you going to be addressing? 1, what would you want to communicate with that audience? What might your posts or messages be about? 2, how would you communicate with this audience? What kind of words or slang or emojis would you use to communicate effectively, build community, or collaborate? And then 3, draft your post or message. So you're going to use your answers to these 3, okay? And you're going to use those answers to then write a post or a message. Like pretend that you're posting it to Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is that you might be posting to. Use the space below to show how you would use code switching to communicate effectively, build community, or collaborate with a particular audience. If your post or message would include video or photos, include a description of what they would show. Okay. So that is the assignment that you're going to be working on next. If you have any questions or you need any help, please feel free to reach out. You guys have a great day.